Angry Army, assemble! Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Angry Joe moments.
That's it?
For this list, we'll be looking at the best moments to come from video game reviewer and YouTuber Joe Vargas, better known to the world as Angry Joe. Keep in mind, we'll not only be looking at his reviews, but also ongoing gags that have popped up across multiple episodes of The Angry Joe Show, as well as moments outside the channel in other media.
Boy! No, I'm sorry! No! No!
Number 10. Joe May Cry. It's fair to say a lot of fans were feeling trepidatious about Ninja Theory's take on Devil May Cry. While some ultimately came to despise the game, others were a tad more forgiving about its new direction. Joe sat somewhere in the middle, praising the game in certain aspects but coming down on it pretty hard when it seemed to purposefully mock its predecessors.
Not in a million years.
So I'm supposed to believe that a long-haired wig just happened to fly by at a devastated carnival, landing on your head perfectly, right? No!
But that's not why you're here. You came to watch that hilarious opening skit. Even years on, Joe's reaction to DMC, which in this instance looks suspiciously like electronica band Blood on the Dance Floor, remains priceless.
What have you done? You bastard!
Number 9. The Sack of Rome 2, Total War.
Joe!
You done f***ed it up!
And this is what happens when someone takes a shit over a property Joe adores. As a lifelong Total War fan, Joe was not best pleased when Rome 2 took several steps back in key areas, and as such, earned legitimate ire from Joe.
Now let's continue.
A far cry from the previous entries like Shogun 2, the sheer amount of glitches, lack of polish, absence of fundamental features, and atrocious AI nearly pushed Joe to the breaking point, leading him to dish out this 40-minute deconstruction of how Creative Assembly screwed up. Let slip the dogs of war.
I'm watching you, Sega. Don't f*** this up for me.
Number 8. News segment.
This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace.
Now for something a little more serious. In the wake of the harrowing events in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, the political sphere once again set their sights on blaming video games for their apparent part in inciting mass shootings. While Donald Trump continued to push this tired old disclosure, Joe threw his own hat into the ring.
You know, it really bothers me when those politicians try to blame video games for, causing violent behavior.
During an interview with Spectrum News, he discussed how gaming is being used as a scapegoat by those who don't want to make real change in regard to gun safety.
Japan has more video game sales revenue than the US. You don't see those mass shooting numbers in Japan or any other country that plays video games.
Professional to a T, Joe managed to perfectly articulate what's so glaringly obvious to those who see through the veil of accusations now plaguing the medium.
They're just trying to distract people or use a scapegoat temporarily to distract from real issues that they need to be talking about.
Number 7. He's a man, not a god. Rambo the video game was destined to fail from the get-go, considering it was nothing more than a crappy rail shooter with boring QuickTime events. One that Joe managed to beat in, you guessed it, 4 hours. Pretty inexcusable considering how much it cost.
4 hours! 4 hours!
While watching Joe lose his mind over the game's poor quality, as well as the accompanying skit, is hilarious, we all remember this review for one reason: the final mission.
No!
It's over.
No! 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 No!
In particular, the infamous catchphrase that gets incessantly yelled by one of the enemy AI, so much so that Joe even starts bellowing it out by the end. All together now.
He's a man, not a god. Come on, comrades. He's a man, not a god. Come on, comrades. He's a man, not a god.
Number 6. Cuban Energy, Other Trump, and Konami.
You wanna play a zombie game?
A zombie game? God damn it! Okay, I'll play your stupid zombie games this year.
Metal Gear Survive was not a fun time. Non-survivable, if you will. At the very least, we got this oh-so-entertaining review out of it. Where do we start? How about Joe losing his mind over Konami's shady business practices when it comes to buying save slots, taking the piss out of the survival features, unleashing his inner Cuban, and generally lamenting the dismal fate of the Metal Gear license now that Kojima is out of the picture?
You're looking for the Cuban Energy, huh? It's right here. Look no further, man.
Oh, and we can't forget about other Joe in his award-winning role as President Other Trump. That wig is something else.
No, he does not.
Donald!
Back to work. Check this out.
Number 5. Godzilla is attacking the generators.
There's no fucking variation! There's no alternate objectives! You just destroy the generators the entire fucking game! It is enough to drive you mad!
And you thought Rambo was bad. Taking a massive atomic dump over the king of kaiju's name, this dismal port was a brutal experience for Joe, and it's all down to those damn generators and how they're constantly losing power. One of the worst games to ever make its way onto the PS4, the lack of effort here is pretty startling. While understandably infuriated by the terrible mechanics and bizarre absence of local multiplayer, what really got Joe's goat was how the game forced him to keep attacking generator after generator after generator after generator to the point where we're pretty sure something broke inside him.
Godzilla is approaching the generator. The generator is losing power. Godzilla is approaching the generator. The generator is losing power.
Oh well, at least there's diorama mode.
A diorama mode! Unlocked monsters can be placed in different tiny scenery locations and posed for photographs.
Number 4. No Man's Lie.
No Man's Sky is more like No Man's Lie.
The initial reaction to No Man's Sky was far from stellar, and while recent updates have allowed it to crawl out of the cesspool of shame, back in its infancy, Joe showed this game no mercy. While praising the opening hours for its sense of scope, Joe proceeded to break down just how much promised content was missing from the final product, and how in doing so, they created a giant sandbox with barely anything in it, except a seemingly never-ending loop of system crashes.
Realize one from a distant star. Oh, what? You broke the game this time!
This all comes to a head when he discovered what exactly was lurking at the center of the universe. Needless to say, he was not a happy space camper.
And it pulls out and it plays this like it's the greatest fucking game you've ever fucking played. No, this.
Number 3, Joe vs. EA's Battlefront, Round 2.
You it up again.
The unparalleled greed found in this game with its loot box system was downright stunning, and that's even by EA standards. Like many other critics, Joe was happy to give his 2 cents on how such appalling business practices was ruining the industry, and that the corporate masterminds profiting from it could go choke on some Force lightning.
It's literally garbage. It's trash. Every pull is trash.
As for the game itself, it didn't hold up much better. Initially thrilled at the prospect of serving the Empire and killing off some rebel scum, the protagonist's sudden leap to the light side, along with the minuscule campaign length, quickly dashed that dream.
The game, if played on normal difficulty, is only 4 hours!
Number 2, Ride to Hell and Back.
Never has a game earned its namesake like Ride to f***ing Hell has!
Quite possibly Joe's most famous review, and wouldn't you know it, it's for one of the most poorly received, despised, and downright confounding titles to come out in the last decade. Considering just how abysmal each of its features were, from the narrative, to the graphics, to the broken mechanics, to the unholy sex scenes, there was a lot here for Joe to rant about.
How old were the people that wrote this shit? Seriously.
And rant he did, to the point where the review almost became an exorcism. Genuinely insulted by its content and overall immaturity, there have been very few games that have managed to earn this much rage from Joe. But that's Ride to Hell for you. Before we reveal our number 1 Angry Joe moment, here are a few honorable mentions.
You wanna play a zombie game?
Oh!
Hey Joe, you wanna play a zombie game?
Kill me.
7 plus 5 divided by 3 multiply. Have you met Juan?
No!
Okay, minus Juan.
What? Oh shit, I just realized the battle didn't fucking matter! Oh fucking no!
Yes, your goddamn father's dead. You're the new Pathfinder. Sorry, my base is tired.
In roughly 4 hours and 30 minutes.
4 hours!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Breaking the law.
Yeah.
I do want to party with that guy. It's through and through a Japanese game, and it's one that's based on a storied franchise decades old.
For those of us unfamiliar with this franchise, Yakuza 0 turned out to be the perfect gateway game. Unapologetically Japanese in every aspect, it's easy to see why Joe and other Joe would become instant fans, which of course led to their eventual review, and arguably their most hilarious opening skit to date. Dressed up as Kiryu and Majima, the two present themselves as a pair of badasses, and then the karaoke starts. With their hilarious lip-syncing of the game's most iconic song, the two set the tone for the review in the best way possible. Still not convinced? Just take a gander at other Joe's portrayal of Mr. Libido. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.